Shell ring archaeological sites, one of the most visible site types along the lower South Atlantic coast of the United States, are the subject of an interesting new study. The study reveals that these settlements represent the earliest known year-round Native American communities in the eastern woodlands, thriving in dynamic and shifting coastal environments. These formations, which take on circular or arc-shaped patterns, are composed mainly of mollusk shells, particularly from Crassostrea virginica, eastern oyster, also including early pottery, animal remains, and other artifacts, reveals the study published in the newest edition of Scientific Reports. It is believed that these shell deposits accumulated around and beside homes, gradually forming ring-shaped middens as a result of both daily domestic activities and ceremonial feasting practices over time. Through the use of sea-level modeling and isotope geochemistry analysis of mollusk remains, archaeologists have determined that these communities date back to around 5,000 to 3,800 years ago. The study suggests that mollusk collection was likely tied to long-standing traditions, with particular groups or kin-based networks controlling access to specific harvesting areas. These ownership and management practices may have played a role in the sustainable use of these resources, particularly in light of fluctuating environmental conditions. Our study not only underscores the kinds of data needed to understand such complex human relationships but also provides insight into how this process of settling down occurred in North America and its attendant challenges in crafting a sustainable way of life for the indigenous people of the region, explained the authors. In fact, just 2 years ago, another study published in PLOS One indicated the role of climate change in a similar fashion. The researchers proposed that around 4,300 years ago, as environmental changes began to impact oyster harvesting, communities came together to establish shellring villages, allowing them to better manage fisheries in response to shifting climate conditions. However, after several generations, as further environmental changes occurred and oyster populations declined, these Native American groups eventually abandoned the shellring villages. They transitioned to a way of life that relied less heavily on seafood and adapted to new subsistence strategies. The research also indicates that while oysters were harvested year-round, they were primarily collected during the colder months, while clams were gathered more consistently throughout the year, explains a report by Inverse. The study also links environmental changes, especially wetter conditions that altered the salinity of the water, to fluctuations in oyster size over time. These findings support earlier research suggesting that Native Americans harvested oysters sustainably for thousands of years, countering the popular belief that unsustainable human practices were to blame for damaging oyster populations during this period. The researchers tracked changes in oyster size, noting that healthier ocean reefs typically yield larger oysters. Since both human harvesting and environmental factors can influence oyster growth, the variations in size offer insights into past climate conditions and human activities, explained the same study. Even as Native American communities developed strong cultural connections to the region, they demonstrated a remarkable ability to adapt to changing environmental conditions. According to the researchers, this adaptability allowed them to continue inhabiting these coastal areas for millennia, relying on knowledge passed down through generations to navigate shifting circumstances.